工资的总额占 GDP 的比重。
The proportion of total wages to GDP varies across countries. In the US, wages make up nearly 60% of GDP, while in the UK, it's 58%, Japan 53%, France 53%, Canada 51%, and Australia 47%. This means that in major industry countries like those in Europe and Japan, the percentage is around 50 to 60%. South Korea stands at 40%, Argentina at 36%, and Mexico at 33%. In Latin America, the figure is approximately 33%. In poorer countries like Southeast Asia, including Thailand and the Philippines, it's 28%, and in the Middle East, it's 25%. For Africa, we couldn't find specific data, but estimates suggest it's below 20%.
Now, what about China? The wage to GDP ratio in China is just 8%, which is even lower than Africa, making it the lowest in the world. How can consumption be driven in such a situation? It's a real issue. The well-known Chinese economist Lang Xianping highlighted this during a lecture. He pointed out that compared to the global average, China's wages are shockingly low, which has sparked a lot of attention on social media. One user on Zhihu commented, "Look at your own company. A company with 100 employees and 100 million in revenue has a labor cost of 8 million. So Lang Xianping's statement about the 8% average wage ratio in China seems reliable. Despite China's GDP being the second largest in the world, the income levels of the people don't align with it. Some users shared that over the past decade, wages have decreased even as education levels have risen, to the point where wages are absurdly low." On August 9th, a blogger on Xiaohongshu posted a video discussing how the working class has been the hardest hit in the past decade. The effort and reward are mismatched, and lower income groups are struggling to survive. The economic downturn over the past decade has been so severe, I feel like my husband has a lot to say about it. Back in 2016, after graduating with his bachelor's degree in Beijing, he went to Guangzhou for work, earning about 20,000 yuan a month. In 2018, he returned to Hainan and could only find a job paying around 6,000 to 7,000 yuan. Then in 2019, he thought about pursuing further studies to head towards academia. But when he graduated in 2022-2023, his salary had dropped to just over 3,000 yuan. And it's already almost midnight. He's still at school, printing materials and doing other work. He's a graduate student from a top 221 university, yet his salary is still only over 3,000 yuan. I feel so helpless about it. Sometimes it's really not that we don't want to work hard, it's that the salaries right now are ridiculously low. No matter what job you do, the wages are so low. Take my situation in Shenzhen, a first-tier city. The average salary here is around 3,800 to 4,000 yuan. Mine is a bit higher at 4,500 yuan, plus a 200 yuan full attendance bonus. But what good is it? I start work at 9 a.m. and it's already past 11 p.m. and I'm still here at the office. Does this job even make sense? Working like a donkey, it's just too tiring. But there's nothing I can do. I still have to pay rent, buy food, and cover all living expenses. They always say that Gen Z are not working hard enough and complaining about low wages. Forget about savings. My salary barely covers the ever-increasing cost of living, and I'm always working late into the night. I can't even afford to quit this job with such a work environment. Is there any future working like a beast of burden? The Chinese economy is under unprecedented pressure, and the government is not only helpless, but has also further strangled market vitality, increasing exploitation of private enterprises and the lower class. On August 1st, the Chinese government introduced new regulations mandating that starting September 1st, all companies, restaurants, and individual businesses must pay for employees' social insurance. Non-compliant businesses will not only have to pay back all overdue fees, but also incur a penalty of 0.05% daily. Workers are now legally required to participate in social insurance and pay the fees. Because wages are so low, after paying for social insurance, there's almost nothing left. Many people would rather have more cash in hand and not pay for social insurance. Recently, a fresh graduate found their first job, but after the deduction for social insurance, their salary was reduced to just 700 yuan, and they broke down in tears.
I just finished work. My boss told me that my social insurance would be deducted from my salary. Originally, my salary was 2,500 yuan. But after the deduction of 1,800 yuan for social insurance, I am left with just 700 yuan. I work 22 days a month, So that's like earning only 30 yuan a day. And why do I have to pay social insurance? Because if I want to get my intern lawyer certificate, I must have a record of paying social insurance. Without that, I can't become an intern lawyer. And if I can't become an intern lawyer, I can't become a professional lawyer. I have to spend 12 yuan a day commuting by subway, and I still need to eat. It feels like I'm paying to work every day.
It's not that people don't want to pay for social insurance. I wish I could tell those experts the real situation. For example, in Nanning, there are jobs that pay 2,800 yuan. A person earning 2,800 yuan a month can barely make ends meet. After being forced to pay social insurance, they still need to pay 450 yuan, leaving them with just 2,350 yuan, which isn't enough to even rent a place. For employers, they used to pay 2,800 yuan to support an employee, but now they have to pay 1,000 yuan more every month for the same employee. This means that shops and businesses are closing down, making it even harder to find work. Do you know how difficult it is? Life for the average Chinese person is becoming harder, while the Chinese Communist Party seems to be focusing on extracting more from people. There's a flood of voices online saying things like, what will happen to struggling brick-and-mortar stores now? The wave of bankruptcies has begun. Young people can't find jobs anymore. Many business owners don't even pay social insurance themselves. It's a blessing if the wages are paid on time. The public is worried about two things. First, after paying for social insurance, the remaining income is not enough to live on. According to official data, approximately 9.6 million people earn less than 2,000 yuan a month. About 95% of people earn less than 5,000 yuan a month. It's clear that so many workers don't want to pay social insurance because they're forced by the reality of their situation. Second, when the money is given to the Chinese government, it's like throwing meat to the dogs. Official reports have already been released saying that by 2035, the government's basic pension fund will be exhausted. This mandatory social insurance payment reflects the pressure on China's social insurance fund, which is facing a crisis. China's social insurance system follows a pay-as-you-go model, where the premiums paid by current workers are used to pay pensions for retirees. However, China is facing dual challenges of an aging population and a declining birth rate. The largest baby boom generation since 1962 is gradually reaching retirement age, with more than 2 million people retiring each year, while the supply of new labor is decreasing, leading to a reduction of 2 to 5 million working-age people every year. The elderly dependency ratio has risen from less than 10% to 22.5%, putting a severe strain on the sustainability of the social insurance system. Currently, only about 33.5% of the 730 million employed people in China have complete social insurance coverage, and many self-employed and flexible workers like delivery workers remain outside the social insurance system. On social media, young people's resistance to paying social insurance is growing. Some netizens have analyzed why the Chinese government is now enforcing mandatory social insurance.
到这里，我们应该停下来思考一个问题。
At this point, we should stop and ask ourselves why the Chinese government is enforcing this policy now, rather than earlier. The reality is, China is not yet ready to impose mandatory social insurance. First, people's income is far too low. Second, businesses cannot afford it. The most puzzling part is that they didn't enforce this policy when the economy was booming 10 years ago. Instead, they are doing it now when the economy is struggling. Back then, people felt optimistic about the future. Now, however, people are generally pessimistic. And in this time of midlife crisis and youth apathy, they are enforcing it. When China's small businesses were thriving, they didn't implement it. Now that many small businesses are closing and those that remain are struggling to survive, they are pushing for it. This shows just how dangerous China's business environment has become. Let me show you some data. According to the Financial Times, in 2017, China had 40,519 startups. By 2018, the peak year, there were 51,302 startups that had received venture capital. Even in 2020, during the pandemic, there were 22,000, but by 2023, only 1,202 were left, and by 2024, just 260. In 7 years, the number had dropped by 20 times. Does the Chinese government not know about this rare historical decline? The explanation for enforcing mandatory social insurance now is simple. The social insurance fund is running out.
In reality, the issue with mandatory social insurance is the dual pension system. China has an urban-rural dual system, which gradually formed over time. While urban areas developed rapidly, the rural areas were intentionally suppressed for a long time, completing industrialization in an unprecedented way. This process also created disparities in social insurance systems, particularly pensions. Today, many elderly people in rural areas only receive about 200 yuan a month, while those in poorer areas like northeast China receive just 140 yuan a month. This is not enough to ensure a decent quality of life. Recently, a video was posted of an interview with farmers, showcasing their harsh reality. No matter how hard they work, their annual income remains low because the prices for grains and vegetables are too low. In many areas, the average annual income per household is as low as 5,000 yuan. Honestly, I can't even make 100 yuan. I've spent my whole life and I still haven't made 10,000 yuan. Where would I make 10,000 yuan?
It takes a whole year to earn 10,000 yuan. You can't even buy a house with farming. 500 kilograms of corn sells for 1,000 yuan. Our family has about half an acre, and we earn 2,400 yuan a year. What happens if you get sick and need to be hospitalized? If I get sick, I can only wait to die.
Some netizens have pointed out that their parents don't have any retirement funds, yet they're being forced to pay social insurance to support other people's parents. It's pretty ironic. The mandatory social insurance system in China has sparked widespread attention. Caixin, a Chinese financial news outlet, revealed the truth behind the country's current employee pension system. Essentially, young people from rural areas who move to cities for work are paying into a system that supports retired workers in urban areas. Caixin further explained that the social insurance system in China is essentially a scheme where young workers in cities pay for the pensions of urban retirees. Meanwhile, their own rural parents don't receive social insurance, and these young workers, when they retire, will also not benefit from social insurance. This is the core issue with China's social insurance system. A young person from rural Hebei shared a post saying that after finishing university, they worked as a programmer in Beijing, earning a pre-tax monthly salary of 30,000 yuan. Of that, 8,400 yuan was deducted for social insurance. However, their two parents in rural Hebei can only receive 280 yuan a month from the government as their pension. This shows that China's social insurance system is a pure extractive model. The majority of ordinary Chinese people pay into social insurance to support the small percentage of people working within China's state-run system. But when these people retire, who will support them? The future of China seems set for a demographic collapse, and it looks like there's no future ahead. While China's GDP ranks second in the world, the income of ordinary people is so low that it is severely mismatched with the country's economic standing. This suggests that there's a high proportion of wealth taken by the government. So what's the government doing with this money? First, it's being spent on foreign aid. According to a report by Xinhua News Agency, China's foreign aid will reach 1.3 trillion yuan in 2024, surpassing the United States and securing the top spot globally. Second, it's being used for military spending. China's military budget currently ranks second in the world. Third, it's being spent on maintaining stability. A few years ago, reports revealed that China's stability maintenance costs even exceeded military spending. The administrative costs of China's government are also the highest in the world. Of course, the Chinese political elite also benefits from this wealth through their corruption and other means. For example, the deep connections between the Chinese political elite and real estate capital were exposed in the collapse of Evergrande Group. Xu Jiayin, the founder of Evergrande, was once China's richest man. He not only contributed to the real estate bubble, but also became a typical representative of the middlemen in the system. His exchange of interests with high-level CCP officials allowed Evergrande to rapidly expand in an environment of loose regulation and excessive credit, ultimately leaving behind a debt hole of 2.4 trillion yuan. Recently, Xu Jiayin's associate and Evergrande Group president, Xia Haijun, was found hiding in Irvine, California. He had 3 luxury homes worth $30 million. Xia, who holds assets of over 6 billion yuan, quickly cashed out when the Evergrande debt crisis began, selling stocks and bonds through offshore companies, cashing in more than 1 billion Hong Kong dollars. The Evergrande collapse is not just a corporate failure, but a reflection of systemic corruption. While Xu and Xia, along with other executives siphoning off wealth, millions of ordinary home buyers were left struggling with unfinished buildings and heavy mortgages. How many Xu Jiayins are there in China? In short, although the Chinese people are among the most hardworking in the world and have created the second largest global wealth, much of it is taken by the Chinese Communist Party, which doesn't create wealth, but instead drains it. This is the root cause of why ordinary people's incomes remain low, with 600 million Chinese people earning an average of around 1,000 yuan a month, and 220 million people earning less than $3 a day. Recently, Hong Kong writer Yang Chen-gu posted on Facebook saying that the percentage of a country's economic development that reaches ordinary citizens reflects the fairness of its system. A higher percentage indicates that the system is reasonable and that people are sharing in the economic growth, while the opposite shows that the government exploits the fruits of people's labor. Yan Chenggu said, China claims to be the world's second largest economy, with a GDP of $18.7 trillion last year. This number would make African countries stunned, but Chinese people only get 8% of the wealth they create for the country, which is even less than the share in African countries. He went on to say that after China's reform and opening up, the CCP encouraged officials to use their power for corruption, transferring collective wealth into private hands. Small officials became billionaires, and with the expansion of the Belt and Road Initiative, the CCP spent massive amounts of money to buy influence in third world countries and wage unrestricted warfare against democratic nations. Over the past 40 years, national wealth has been funneled into the pockets of CCP officials. However, China's economy is now under unprecedented pressure, and the government is not only helpless, but is intensifying its crackdown on market vitality, increasing the exploitation of the private economy and the lower class. Recent policies like mandatory social insurance and taxes on landlords are further diminishing consumption and crippling the real economy. In Yan's view, Chinese people don't ask questions or challenge authority. When they hear the CCP's propaganda, they're easily swayed, thinking they are the privileged citizens of a great nation. However, as the economy has worsened, ordinary people are facing harsh realities and slowly realizing the deep flaws of the CCP system. The lies of the CCP are losing their power, and the common people are finally starting to understand. This is the current reality of the hardworking Chinese people. Before seizing power, the CCP boasted of liberating the working masses and bringing happiness to the people. After taking control, they treated the people as mere tools to exploit. Today, many have awakened and are beginning to realize that the root of their suffering is the totalitarian regime. As a result, they are all hoping that the CCP will soon collapse.